Hi there, I'm Drake, and I'm speaking to you today from our woodland. And I wanted to just really, I don't know, I suppose speak to you a little bit about why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I've started making these YouTube videos about gardening and growing, and I wanted to give you a little bit of I don't know, perspective as to why am I doing this? And well, there are a lot of reasons, but one of them is just really for me to just, I don't know, just to spend time, enjoy myself, and share something that I think is fundamental to who I am. And I'd like to think that communicates in some shape or form. I've brought you down to the woods because this is a woodland that I've been planting over the last 6 years. And I can't tell you what a joy it is to watch trees grow, and indeed what a joy it is to plant a tree. There's that instant sense of, you know, being present in a moment in time, to the birth of a creature that is just going to live for many, many years. And certainly some of these trees, could grow to many hundreds of years old. I have over my left shoulder here, there's a sequoia tree, which we actually brought back in a little test tube from California, where we used to live, and it's growing very happily here. And it's one of the very few non-native trees that we've got here in our woodland. And woodlands for me are really key because each tree is so wonderfully unique, yet they're all connected. And I've been involved in writing a book about the Ogham of trees, which is, you could describe it as a kind of Celtic alphabet of trees, where each tree is assigned different characteristics, but has certain qualities, certain spiritual depth and dimensions to it that's unique to that tree. But they are all in the forest, just like the alphabet is held within words. Trees are within a forest, and we are ostensibly individuals within the society that we live in, which could be described as a forest. And here we might have a area where it's just rowan trees, or we might have another grove that's just an area of pine trees, and that's a bit like how society plays out. So for me, as somebody who had I had a garden when I was like 5 years old, and just got really, really engaged in growing. It developed over the years, so that for me, what was important was working with communities, and I spent a lot of years setting up community food networks. And part of that was about connecting people with growing. So we'd do things like dig up pavements and plant vegetables, or we'd just create different ways in which people could come together. And food is one of those great unifiers, because we all need to eat. And I've lived and worked in some very deprived parts of the world, and it has been so fundamental to people's life and culture to actually experience that. And that's the ecosystem. That's the ecosystem of where we live, where the people that I worked with lived. And I've been very fortunate. I've lived in different parts of the world. I've done things like green gorillas and seed bombing vacant lots in New York, through to the Floriade, the International Flower Festival in Holland. I've designed gardens. I've helped develop natural planted areas around the world, really, in my small way, and I've planted many, actually, probably around about 50,000 trees. I'd hazard a guess at is the number of trees I've probably planted. Here on our little plot in Dartmoor, I've planted about 3,000 trees. And of course, the planting of a great deal, many more than that. And that's to me, that's like gardening. It's on a different scale, but it's gardening. And connecting with food is connecting with what it is to grow that food. And somehow, being a chef as I am, and having a sense of where that food comes from is so vital to who I am, and I'm always looking at ways in which I can communicate that. And so perhaps through these YouTube videos I can start getting into that. And I initially just wanted to start talking about growing, and I've been looking a lot at seeds and seedlings and vegetables and so on and so forth. But I thought it was really important to come back, step back, and get to a more wild environment. And, because this is where it all begins. Plants didn't spontaneously arrive on farmlands. They all came from the wild. They all came from an environment that in many ways we've lost connection with. And so me and how I approach gardening is about reconnecting with that wild side. And so there are terms now which people may have heard of, like forest gardening, for example, or permaculture, or biodynamic growing, which are all reflections of that kind of wild gardening, as I'd like to call it. But you can't take the wild out of gardening. And it is like, in whatever you do, whether when you're working with a seed, like this wonderful, delicate, vulnerable little seed that's going to germinate and grow into some amazing plant, that is an untamed experience. And how a plant grows, no matter what you do, you're bound to have certain situations where that plant will die, or it will do amazingly well, and you can't believe how much fruit it's produced, for example. And there's that unknown quality. And I think that unknown quality is something that's really special about gardening. And so there's a witnessing of seeing something grow, and there's an uncertainty, which makes it a little bit edgy and a little bit exciting. And so that, to me, is a big part of what it is to garden. The other thing about gardening is that it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's all part of one or many ecosystems. It's all connected, like through the air, water, how much sunlight it gets, through the animals that visit your garden, or even your container on a patio, or even your houseplant on the windowsill. They're all engaged with the wider environment. And to me, that connection, that's still a connection to the wild. And that is so vital. And I will endeavour to get that clear in what I'm doing with these videos. And I hope by stepping back into the woodland where I am now, gives you a sense of where I'm coming from. It's like I'm stepping out of the woods right now to share what I know about gardening and growing, to share some of the, some of the things that I've learned the hard way, and some of the joys that I've experienced. And if there are any questions that you have, feel free to comment. If there are any requests you have, if there's anything you want to see or hear about, let me know. As I say, I have a background in conservation, I have a background in design, in landscape architecture. I have a background in working with communities and developing food projects. And even have a love and passion for forest skills. So ask me anything you want, and if I don't know anything about it, I will raise my hand and thank you, because it will give me an opportunity to find out about that thing you're asking about. So it's all about growth and development for me. So I think that's pretty much it for now. I want to thank you for your listening, and I hope you have a really, really great day. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.